There's two faces on there. The other one is my co-founder and my wife. She's here, back up there. I would like to start today with Article 25 from the Constitution of Pakistan. It states, as a fundamental human right, the state shall provide free and compulsory education for all children under the age of 5 to 16 in such a manner as may be determined by law. That's the law. It's a promise we make as a nation to our children that we will be equipping them with the skills and tools necessary to succeed in life. But are we really doing that? Let's take a look at some numbers. 22 million kids of school-going age are out of school in Pakistan. That's more than the entire population of Sri Lanka. Let that sink in. Twice the population of Sweden. And 20 times everybody who's living in Luxembourg. That's how many kids are out of school. The state of education is the biggest challenge that the nation of Pakistan faces today. And it's not like the ones who are going to school are doing a whole lot better. Those who do reach high school, nearly 40% are unable to pass standardized government exams. And the bar is pretty low at 30%. So we're not really challenging these kids to do well in life or equipping them to play a contributive role in the knowledge economy that exists today. When millions of such students are unable to access quality education, a lot rests on the K-12 system's ability to deliver on this promise. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news. The system as it stands today is set up to fail our children. Now, when Anam and I thought about doing something about this, we came to the realization that the only bridge between the world that we have and the world that we want is irrevocably education. We don't live in isolation, so we all have to do our part to improve status quo. So roll up our sleeves, do our bit. We work at Casa every day to make quality education accessible to 140 million potential learners in this country. Starting out, it was not an easy decision, especially for a young couple. We just had our first child, our son, he's sitting right up there. And we, like many young people in Pakistan, faced an uncertain and daunting environment. It was not easy because not just our futures were on the line, but the future of our next generation was on the line, taking on such a mammoth challenge. Funding for such ventures didn't exist, and support was negligible, to be very kind to it. But we constantly thought, what about the millions who have it much worse than we have? And it's about them. It's really not about us. We had many people tell us, it's not possible, it's too hard, many people have tried before, wo internet nahi chalti. But something in us, it was maybe our sheer tenacity, grit, that we felt that we could do something which was seemingly impossible. And I think a bit came from past generations that made the impossible possible so that all of us could sit here today and enjoy an intellectual conversation. So regardless of circumstances, we decided to build something that is going to set up our next generations to be better equipped for the future. My late grandmother used to tell me that I can do anything, and to never let someone tell me otherwise. As long as I was educated and had the skills, I would be able to do the impossible. Her life was a living testimony to this. You see her up here. She raised 5 brothers from the tender age of 13. It sounds challenging, but it becomes especially challenging when you think this was happening in the 1920s. As a woman, she did not just raise them. They ended up holding office, some of the highest levels in the public service of this country. She raised 2 sons. They became doctors and served this nation in uniform and are respected by patients and peers alike. Why was she able to do this? The answer is in education. In 1920s, a girl's education was one of the rarest things, and her father, before he passed away, invested a whole lot in her education. So that went a long way, many generations, and I'm one of the results of that education. I'm sure all of you have someone in your life who is much like my grandmother, who did something meaningful, who defied the odds, and ended up putting you in this place. So why would our next generations be any different? It's in our DNA. No one is going to build a great country for us. We have to roll up our sleeves and do it ourselves. It's her life and lessons that come to me when I feel like something is not happening. It seems impossible, seems difficult. And I get that reassurance. If she could do it in the 1920s, what am I complaining about? No one will hand us anything. We will build it ourselves. And our generations to follow will talk about it in TED Talks. There is no silver bullet to take on this massive education challenge. In Pakistan's 75 years of existence, the best we have come up with is dramatically falling short of what is desperately needed. A conventional approach will only yield conventional results. We have to think differently, we have to move fast. We cannot afford to sit around and watch from our ivory towers as 140 million Pakistanis fade into the background because of the obsolescence and a struggling education system that does not match the potential that the Pakistani youth possesses. And at Casa, we started with a clean sheet. Literally nothing. No legacy, no old approaches, no resources, no tradition, nothing to hold us back from a fresh new approach. We had clarity of thought. The old ways will not work. It took us almost 9 months to get an understanding of the lay of the land. We read hundreds of pages of documents and reports. We traveled and met school owners, teachers, parents, students, policymakers, ministers across the country. We tried to see things from their perspective because we were building for them, right? It was a lesson in humility. As we met people, got a glimpse of their lives, looked at their challenges, their fears, but most importantly, we saw through their aspirations. At times, it was frustrating to see that the gatekeepers of education were its biggest barriers. Really frustrated Anam and I. But knowing the enemy is half the battle. We learned what we had to overcome in order to really provide quality education and make it possible for everyone to access it. We always took our son with us, and he's even here today. I remember it was his 3rd birthday when we were visiting a school in Muzaffargarh, and we stopped by in Multan, if anybody's from Multan. We stopped at a bakery, and we bought him a bag of lollipops as his birthday gift, and he was happy. You'd be amazed what our kids can be happy with. Who knew? We spoke with almost 800 different stakeholders in the space before we tried to build anything. We went across Pakistan, everywhere from the big cities like Lahore and Karachi to small towns like Thatta, Sajawal, Mardan, Muzaffargarh. No matter where we went, we come to a profound understanding that the only thing that really matters ultimately is the teacher. Having access to a great teacher can have the most pivotal contribution to a student's learning journey. They're in maybe the top 2 or 3 cities of this country teaching at extremely competitive schools. And it's very natural, right? If you're gifted at something, you would go where your skills are rewarded the most and the highest benefits for your all the hard work that you put in, right? So it pulls everyone from across the country who's gifted at disseminating knowledge towards these larger cities. However, we have 400 cities and towns and thousands of villages in this country where students live. And that is where the teachers are needed the most. This, ladies and gentlemen, creates the greatest access divide in Pakistan's education system. So we had to figure out how to put these great teachers in front of the vast populace of young people who are so eager to learn in this country. We started out with the simplest way to do this. This might sound funny to some of you, but we hired some great teachers. Like, these are really passionate rock stars. We trained them on how to teach online, because it's a different beast. And we worked with them to teach live online using Facebook Live from our headquarters in Lahore. We then went to some of these schools in remote cities and places that had told us that they can't hire teachers or can't afford them, or there are just no teachers at a high school level. And generally, the students didn't graduate beyond middle school level. They did, however, have access to 4G high-speed internet. So at Casa would become their high school. 6 days a week, from morning to afternoon, we taught daily live classes to these students, just like their high school. And for questions and answers, guess what we did? We asked them to WhatsApp us. Now, there was a fair bit of skepticism, right, that this would work out or not. But what we had to come to expect that, right? Like, you're trying to change something. With anything new, people are afraid, not of the thing itself, but of change. The important thing here for us was to align everyone towards a singular goal, right? Teachers, school administrators, parents, students at Casa must be on the same page, trying to achieve the same goal. Otherwise, this is not going to work. Only and only we would succeed if we were all doing the same thing, working towards the same goal. And that is our core value: student success. In less than a year, we were able to sign up 40 schools from across the country with 600 students who previously had no access to high school teachers. We were their high schools, all 40 of them, with 5 rockstar teachers, a couple of laptops and phones, Facebook and WhatsApp. It was the lack of resources, not the opposite, that made this possible. This is what it looked like, teaching every day for a teacher at Casa. And at Casa, we knew we were onto something, because these schools were using us on a regular basis. They were actually paying us on a monthly basis to make these classes happen. But before we pat ourselves on the back, and Anam and I celebrated that job well done, we realized that 40 schools and 600 kids is not even a drop in the ocean. We actually need to move faster. So we did the next thing. We built a YouTube channel. And we set an internal goal that if we got 50,000 subscribers in less than a year, we would scale this like there's no tomorrow. We got 58,000 subscribers. We got 100,000 unique viewers watching our content every month. That is when we knew that we need to move even faster. So we did. We did the next thing. We went out and we raised our first pre-seed round. And we built an app in less than 6 months, purpose-built for our students in Pakistan to help them do better in their studies. We launched it in April 2021, and like you say, the rest to say is history. In less than a year, we have received over 250,000 downloads of our app. That's about, I would say, 8 of those Qaddafi stadiums full of fans, or for our friends from the US, about 12 Madison Square Gardens full of fans. It's a lot of people. It's still just humble beginnings. We have to move faster. Remember, 22 million kids are just out of school. What this proves, and it's crazy, is that education is not a demand-side problem in Pakistan. Our young people want to learn. It's always been that our system hasn't caught up. But technology today is more than equipped to match the great potential of our people, our young people. So did COVID-19 trigger a long overdue overhaul of our education system? I believe the fuse was lit a lot earlier. Our best is yet to come. The Casa team and thousands of students are on a mission to bridge this gap, this access gap in education that exists in our great country. It will happen soon, and Casa will play a significant role in it. It's a purpose worth struggling for. It's worth the win. The win for education, the win for a better country than we have inherited. We will be the change that we want to see in our great country. And we wish you to be part of it. With that, I thank you for your audience. Pakistan, Bye Indabad.